Hard, heavy, and hair. Badass music for badass listeners. With Pariah Burke.
A few years ago, LA Guns guitarist Ace Von Johnson told me I should absolutely interview a guitar phenom who replaced him in Faster Pussycat. Ace introduced us, we agreed to an interview, but then the world shut down. It took a while, but Sam Bam Koltun and I finally got together for an interview. Of course, in the middle of touring with both Dorothy and Faster Pussycat, we had to settle for a remote interview. Sam Bam Koltun, Dorothy, Faster Pussycat, Budderside, welcome to the Hard, Heavy, and Hair Show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So you and I were hanging out after your recent set with Dorothy in Portland, and you walked out from backstage wearing a metal splint on the middle finger of your left hand. A finger, yeah. As a guitarist, you're constantly working the fretboard with that finger. So when I asked you about it, how did you break it?
I was moving and I was really hell-bent on trying to get as much stuff done as I possibly could before I had to leave again on tour. And I slammed a bed frame down on my middle finger. And it was something that could have been avoided by waiting an extra 5 or 10 minutes, but it happened. So I got out on the road. Before I got out on the road, I did a couple shows with Faster Pussycat, and then I flew out to start the Dorothy tour. And I'm like, this kind of just still feels weird. Like the first Pussycat show, I couldn't really play with it. The second one, it was better. The first show with Dorothy was at an arena, so the adrenaline took over, and I didn't really even notice it. But then the next day, I'm like, this doesn't feel good, and I got it x-rayed and found out it was broken. Non-disjointed fracture. So it feels pretty close to being okay, but I'm still just wearing this during the day to keep it safe.
Yeah. So what does the non-disjointed fracture mean? Is that better than other kinds of fractures?
I guess it's better than other kinds. Yeah, I guess it isn't. Okay. It means that it didn't like fully break. I guess it was like kind of like a crack, maybe. I'm not completely sure, but I was told that out of all the things that could have happened, that was the best case scenario.
That's good. I'm sure that was a big relief, given you're a guitarist for a living.
Yeah, it was a bit of a relief for sure. But I was certainly bummed, because I'm like I don't know. I'm a hard critic on myself. So even when I'm at my 100%, I still kind of am a bit critical of myself. So not being able to be at 100% was quite a bit. It was frustrating, but I played a few shows without my middle finger. So I made a smaller splint because this one's kind of bulky. I made a smaller one and just made it through a couple shows without my middle finger, and then got the word from some doctors that it was okay to use it as long as I was icing it afterwards and then keeping it in the splint. So I just started playing the shows again with it. And then I just went back to my regular gauge guitar strings, I think the 2 shows ago. So it's feeling better.
Okay. Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you.
I got to tell you, and like I told you that night, I was in the front row of the concert, and I was right there at the stage, and I'm watching you play. I had no idea your finger was broken while you were playing. I didn't notice. And I caught some video of your performance, and I even went back and looked at it. And I was like, I mean, if you really scrutinize, yeah, there's a little bit of the middle finger not moving, but I just thought that was your technique. I didn't even realize.
Yeah, I don't know. There's not much technique here. It's just kind of like whatever happens.
Gotcha. Well, okay. That was some killer playing.
Thank you.
Broken finger, even if you didn't have a broken finger, that was some killer playing. But a broken finger on top of it, that was just legendary playing. And I'm
Well,
just being
I
honest.
appreciate it. I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
And you were playing with Dorothy that night, like I said, and you were also filling in for both guitar parts because a lot of Dorothy songs were two guitars.
Yeah, the current, I guess, version of the band is just touring with one guitar, and which for me personally is very fun because I love the challenge of trying to make it sound big as one person and really kind of, you know, working well and paying attention to the drummer and the bass player to like really kind of have it hopefully sound big. And uh, yeah, so in some parts you're covering two different parts, or you're just trying to make it sound uh, big and full. I guess is my biggest goal.
Any Dorothy songs you found particularly challenging to do that with or to play in any other way?
Not really, because it just kind of like make a mashup of the couple parts. Or I'm not the first person who has done the one guitar version, so there were a couple versions of things to go based off of, um, from Nick Perry and from the guitar player they had right before me. And so there were a couple things to go off of, and then I kind of came up with a couple things myself to do. And really, probably the hardest song to do all the parts on it are something off the new record, like "Rest in Peace" or "Black Sheep" or "A Beautiful Life," just because there's so many layers and things. Um, but we get the point across.
Yeah. So that new record, "Gifts from the Holy Ghost" from Dorothy, are you on it? Did you record?
I am on some of the songs, yeah. It's a big eclectic mix of a bunch of players actually on that thing.
Yeah, I saw a pretty big list. So what songs in particular are you on the recordings?
For sure, I'm on the entire song "Made to Die." That one was completely untouched from the sessions that we did, and I think there's some parts left in on "A Beautiful Life" and possibly a song called "Big Guns." It all kind of got mashed together. She brought it to, I guess, Chris Lord Alge came into the picture after the sessions that she brought myself and her bass player Elliot. She took us to New York to record, and I guess after those sessions, she just, you know, maybe wasn't totally excited about how it went. I'm not completely sure, but then Chris Lord Alge came into the picture, and then she went and did a lot of other songs with some other people. So when we did our sessions, um, "Rest in Peace," "Black Sheep," "Hurricane," "Touched by Fire," and then like one or two other songs. Uh, oh, "Top of the World" and a couple others. Those songs didn't exist, so we recorded a bunch of other songs. Um, and then uh, to me, it's a great thing that she ended up going back and doing some other stuff because then she got those really, really great songs out of it.
So is this something we're gonna hear? There's gonna be a rare and unreleased record at some point with those songs on it.
I'm not sure. Maybe some will come back, come back and get reworked for her next record, or maybe she'll write some new ones. I'm not totally sure. It'll kind of be like see what happens. There were a couple really cool things though from from those sessions that I hope get either reworked or used somewhere.
All right. Yeah. Hopefully we get to hear them. So how is Dorothy Martin to work with in the studio
And
or
I
in
mean,
general?
just in general, I mean, it's great. It's she's just such a great singer. I mean, she's unbelievably talented. She's super cool. To me, she's like the old big sister. never had. So I've got her, and then my buddy Ace Von Johnson is my adopted older siblings, and yeah, she's awesome. She's badass, if I can say that word.
Oh yeah, yeah. I can bleep. Yeah, so it was actually Ace Von Johnson that introduced us. I don't remember if he actually introduced us or I had been talking to him and he's like, you got to talk to this guy, Sam Bam Koltun. He's just amazing on guitar. And then, you know, a lot of things happened the last couple of years, but I'm glad we finally connected for an interview.
Yeah, I'm glad we did too. Yeah, I can't remember if he connected us like in person or in digitally. It might have been digitally. I don't
It
know.
was digitally because when I met you the other night, that was the first time you and I
That
had
was the
met
first.
IRL. Yeah.
Right, right.
Um, so let me ask you, how is Sam Bam Koltun to work with? We talked about Dorothy, but how are you to work with?
How am I to work with? I don't know. That'd be a better question for somebody else. I hope the answer is easy because I try to just be easy. I don't think I feel like I feel like in most of the situations I'm in, I'm the one causing the least amount of ruckus because I really just care about playing guitar and sleeping. So
Those are your two main interests.
yeah, those are really my main interests. So um, I don't know. I would hope the answer would be easy or something positive of the sorts.
All right. Well, that is what I've heard from other people. But yeah. So how are you in the studio? I mean, what kind of player are you when you're in there laying down tracks or, you know, trying out riffs?
I just try to, I don't know, try to come up with something that to me sounds different or hopefully sounds a little unique. You know, everything's been done before. There's only 12 notes on the fretboard.
Right.
And so trying to find something that just sounds a little different. Really, that's what I try to do the most. So whether that's writing riffs for Budderside or coming in on the faster Pussycat material that Tammy's kind of had laying around for a while, and then coming in and kind of beefing up the guitars and switching out a couple parts, coming up with something else that could work. Or if it's the with Dorothy, just trying to come up with something else to layer in. It's really just trying to get creative and just I kind of just sit there and do stuff till I come up with something.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I want to ask you about Butterside, but first I want to go into those comments you just made on Faster Pussycat. So with
Yeah,
Faster, you're working on so you've been dividing your time between Dorothy and Faster this concert season, right? Um,
mostly yes.
so and there is new music by Faster in the works. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah. So Tammy just signed a deal with Golden Robot Records. So we are going to be putting out some singles. I think the plan for the first one, I'm not sure, don't quote me because this is just what I was told, but it could have changed. I think they want to re-release Nola the new single we released in 2021. Since we kind of just put it out and it was like, boom, here's a song, but
Yeah.
it didn't really get like distributed, or I don't really know how any of that stuff works. Uh,
Well, I can
so
tell you from my side of it. So I usually get music sent to me. You know, every
okay,
Friday it's like this giant, you know, in my inbox is this giant set of music. And it's from labels and it's from pluggers and it's from distro services. And I had to go hunt down that song. It did not come through the usual channels to me.
right.
So,
So we're going to. I think that song is going to get re-released so that that isn't a thing. So people aren't scouring for it,
yeah.
and then, uh, there's more songs. So there's two more songs that are mixed, mastered, ready to come out. It's a new original and a new cover. The original, I believe it's called Like a Ghost. We've just been calling it Ghost, but I think Tammy wants to actually call it Like a Ghost. Um, and then there's a cover of the Buffalo Springfield song For What It's Worth.
Oh, wow.
So those two are ready to go, and then Tammy's been working on another song called Motorbike that I've played a bunch of guitar on, and it's kind of like I kind of just need to get back home so we can do a few more things um, on that song, I believe. And then we'll just kind of keep working on some other ones he's had sitting around. I've played on a bunch of stuff so far. I think it's just kind of now maybe it's just getting serious about it.
So is this going to be a new LP on Golden Robot Records, or just singles,
It,
or an EP?
it might eventually become a record, but I think the current plan is to do singles and then like an EP kind of thing. Which it's kind of like, honestly, it's kind of a similar thing to what Budderside is doing too with the singles, because it's like the song gets to come out, people get to have it for a while, they get to live, it gets to have like a life kind of, instead of just putting out a record of 10 or 12 songs and then it's just like it's there, and then I guess because people's attention spans are, everybody's got ADD now
Yeah, and
for
it's
whatever reason.
a lot of it too is people don't sit down and listen to records anymore. They just don't listen to an album. They don't, in my opinion, they don't.
Yes.
It's just the way music is distributed these days. We're all on the go. We're all moving. It's easier to load up Spotify or Apple Music or something than it is to carry a bunch of CDs or cassettes and put them in one at a time.
Exactly. That was a way better way of trying to say what I was trying to say.
Yeah, and there's some artists, particularly in the pop and hip hop world, that are just going singles. They're eschewing albums altogether. And I wonder, I feel we've lost something. I don't know about you, but I love sitting down, just listening to a record and hearing the through thread between songs. It's not just there's an art to arranging a record and not just, one song at a time.
Well,
And I like that.
honestly, I'll tell you on that subject. I mean, even like listening to records fully is kind of a more like within recent years thing for me, because I grew up as a kid really just loving certain songs, because my household, LimeWire was a thing. So my dad would download songs and then he would burn CDs of these songs.
So
And
right now, the FBI office in St. Louis is mobilizing.
oh yeah, it's they're coming for me. They're tracking me down in South Bend, Indiana right now and coming for me. But so that's
Oh, I meant for
that's
your parents, but I assume they're still in
oh
St. Louis.
oh right, yeah. So that's it. It's more of like by recent, I'm saying like the last 6, 7, 8, 9 years, kind of really getting into just listening to the records all the way through. That's what I'll do all the time now when something new comes out. I didn't listen to the new Ozzy record until I could listen to the whole thing all the way through.
What do you think?
Oh, I love it. I think it's awesome. What do you think?
Yeah, for the most part. There's a couple of songs I'm like, but the majority of it I really like. I mean, the collaboration with Tony Iommi and Eric Clapton. Oh my God, Ozzy
That's
and
my favorite
Clapton.
song.
Oh,
That's my favorite song.
yeah, I can see why. I mean, Clapton's as good as he ever was.
It's just all the different people that are on there. It just fits so well. It was just like, oh, that's cool. It's just some really, really cool songs. And I think it's great.
Yeah. It's funny. I was thinking earlier today, who was I? Oh, Tom Hazart is going to see Post Malone tonight. And that brought to mind Ozzy's collaboration with Post Malone. So I was thinking about, how Ozzy just stretches and does stuff and works with a lot of different people, and it was cool to hear him back together with Tony Iommi, but Ozzy said in interviews he won't do much more with Tony because then it would just be a Black Sabbath reunion. Um, but yeah, it's really cool to hear these collaborations he's doing. And the
Yeah,
Elton John one, you know, that one I really like too.
on the last record, yeah, that was
Yeah,
really, really cool. Elton John and Slash on a song. That was pretty cool.
yeah. So again, I want to come back to the Budderside, but since we're on this
Yeah,
topic,
yeah.
who have now I know you've done a bunch of jams. You're in 3 active bands right now, but who have you not played with that you would really like to play with?
Uh,
And if you
I
want,
mean,
we can expand that to living or dead.
that's such a long list. How do I even narrow that down to an answer? Um, I don't know. I mean, I guess the number one I'd have to say, just because he's my favorite guitar player and musician, would be Jerry Cantrell. So getting to play with him someday would be unbelievable. Um, but I don't know. Other than Cantrell, it's really there's just so many. There's so
Uh,
many that come to mind. I don't know. Alice in Chains, Shinedown. Uh,
you've opened for Shinedown. Did you get
just
to
uh, just did actually. Yes.
did you get to jam with them at all?
No, not jam with them, but we get to hang a little bit. Zach, the guitar player, and I met Zach for the first time when I was 14, and uh, he's not that much older than me. So like, he was like maybe 10 years older than me. So it was like, we were both fairly young-ish. He was basically like my age, actually, and yeah, we hung out a bit, and it was really really cool because I mean I grew up listening to that band and loving that band, and to be opening for them was really really cool. And then we did Rocklahoma with them and got to hang out with Zach quite a bit, and it was rad because we've only kind of known each other because he went to he mentioned something to the rest of the band. And he's like, "Oh, that kid used to come to our meet and greets," because I did, and but yeah, so they were all really really cool, and the shows were great.
So was it like a fairy tale to you? Go to the meet and greets, then you're hanging with them and playing opening for them? Or was
Well,
this just, you knew you were always going to get there?
I can tell you, just to splash a little bit of reality for everybody, I can tell you everything about the day because the the show where we were opening for Shinedown, we did 2 shows with them, but one of them was a festival. The first show of the tour for this tour was that show with Shinedown in Knoxville. It was rescheduled because I guess one of them got sick, I guess, at the end of their last tour. And so it got rescheduled, and Dorothy was slotted as the direct support middle band. And um, I can tell you that everything about that day, other than the show, was a nightmare.
Oh,
Because so uh, let's see, that show was on a Sunday. We flew on a Saturday. I got a call on the Friday. So on that Friday, I was sound checking at the Whiskey for the Faster Pussycat show. Our tour manager calls us and he said, "Hey, I'm going to send you these pictures. Can you identify the gear that's on these pallets?" And I'm like, "Okay." So I get these because our gear was freighted to the first show. So
ah,
the first show was in Knoxville, and we were going to be flying in. So we wrapped our week of rehearsals, and then the gear got sent away. Uh, so he's like, "Yeah, can you identify some of the pieces on these pallets?" And I'm like, Okay. Well, that case looks like my main guitar. That case looks like my number two guitar. That case looks like one of my 412 cabinets. That case looks like my pedal board. What's the deal with these? He's like, those aren't going to make it to the show.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, okay, what happened? It's just like whatever, the freighting company left a couple pallets behind. Those pallets, it wasn't only my gear. They contained, starting with Dorothy's suitcase, I guess, that had a bunch of her stuff that she needed to get ready for the show. So just like different show things, not like completely wardrobe things, but just like, I guess, makeup and girl stuff. Uh, the the drummer's kick drum. So he had the rest of his drum kit, but he was missing a kick drum. The bass player's two main basses, and his bass amps, his case that contained his two bass amps, and then my two main guitars, 412 cabinet, and my pedal board, and my acoustic, but I was only bringing the acoustic for like radio stuff on tour. And so that's how it started. So we show up, and there's some half backline rented gear. I flew with another Les Paul, and luckily I'm a gear addict, so I had a lot of pedals laying around. I grabbed my pedal board that I threw together for the Pussycat shows, and I threw a couple of pedals in the bag, and basically got to the arena and assembled a pedal board that I was hoping would work and cover the songs that we had to play. And that's how the show went. And it's, an arena with 10, 15,000 people. I don't know how many people were there, but it was a lot of people. Just kind of fingers crossed that everything went well.
What was the response to it? Or how'd you feel coming off the stage?
I felt like, I was like, okay, out of all the gigs, that was one of them, but I think it was okay. I think it was okay. It was, again, so on the last Dorothy tour, every situation is different. So on the last Dorothy tour, we were on in-ear monitors. So we weren't using monitors on stage. We had an in-ear mix, and we were traveling with a front of house console that basically, I guess, somehow with technology stored our in-ear mixes. So every day we would come in and just have to make slight tweaks depending on the room. For this first Shinedown show, that was the only show of this tour that we were going to be on in-ears, because there was a different front of house person coming with us, so we weren't going to have the same setup. So that first show, we were all on in-ears, because we were also you couldn't have wedges because the way their stage was designed. Their stage was insane, by the way.
What was
like? It was like there was like a catwalk that felt like a mile long. It just stretched out in the audience, and we were mostly set up in front of the PA. So you had to be on in-ears, because if you pull the in-ears out, there's like a delay. But their stage design, mind you, me saying that it's crazy, I mean crazy in an incredible way, because they designed it to where basically in this arena there wasn't really a bad seat. They kind of get out, and it's not like they're playing in the round, but by the time they get out to the front of the catwalk, they're kind of like in the middle of the arena.
Oh, wow.
So it was,
and was
really,
that just
really,
Brent, or did everybody? Sorry to cut you off.
No, the whole band was out there.
Oh, wow.
I mean, the drummer was obviously kind of more in the back, but no, the whole band, that was the stage. It wasn't like their little spots to go out were on the catwalk. That's basically what the stage was. There was a stage part that went across, but then it had their whole like lighting screen thing on it, and then right in front of that was the drums, and then that was basically their whole stage was this very long catwalk, and it was amazing.
But you didn't get a chance to really make use of it.
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I'm
So you weren't
I'm
just,
on
I
wireless.
thought you said you were just parked in front of the amps.
So I'm on wireless, and Dorothy was, they allowed us to use the catwalk. They're like, oh, you're
Okay.
able to go out and do whatever you want, because that's the stage. So Dorothy was going out, and I'm like, we were set up really kind of far back. So I was like, okay, well, I just kind of walked out there for some solos because it's like, okay, what else is there to do, I guess. And it was it was really really cool. Part of my family came, my parents and one of my sisters came for the show just because the family is also, they're a fan of Shinedown, and they were fans of Dorothy. My parents and my sisters loved Dorothy, and then when my sisters found out that I was going to be playing for her, that was like, it was a moment of like, wait, you're playing for her? We actually like her.
That's really
Oh, it's
cool
cool.
that you can have your family come see you play and that they're excited about the band you're in.
It's cool. Yeah, they like, luckily they like all the things that I do, so it's cool.
All right. Right on. That is really cool. So tell me about Budderside. Tell me what's coming
Uh,
up with Budderside and what's going on.
well, we shot a couple other music videos before I left for tour, way back in March, 7 years ago, it feels like. And so we have some more stuff that's going to come out soon. We put out from our new stuff. So we put out a year ago. Actually, it just had its 1 year birthday. The first song we put out was Voices, and that came out in September of last year. So we have five new songs that are out: Voices, Ghostlighting, Too Far, Never Worth It, and a song called The Truth. And those are all from the sessions that we've done, the five of us together, with this producer, Matt Good, who works out of Arizona. And so there's three more songs that are ready to come out. And then we want to go record four more and have a full record. It's just kind of waiting for the time for everybody to be back home because we're all doing other things at the moment.
So your Budderside bandmates, what other projects are they in?
Our singer Patrick Stone just started singing for The Sweet, so he's been doing a bunch of gigs with them, which has been cool to see. Other guitar player Logan, he was playing with this singer Diamante, and then he started working for the Pretty Reckless as a tech. So he's teching for the bass player and the drummer with them. And then Gabe, I believe, is still kind of doing some 27 stuff here and there, some Kurt Cobain stuff. And then Jeff, our drummer, is doing a bunch of stuff at like Six Flags. It's kind of like a big like Halloween thing right now. So he does some of those kind of more corporate-y gigs in LA.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody's kind of, in the middle of some stuff right now. You know, me, I left in March for the tour. We were gone from March to May. We were gone 8.5 weeks. And then I was home for 5 days. And then I left for the Faster Pussycat tour, and that was 10 weeks. And then I was home for like 16 days, not all at one time, because Dorothy had a flyout show. And then I started moving, I moved. And then I came out on this tour. So there hasn't really been time to breathe, let alone work on anything else.
So how much longer are you on tour? I know you got South Bend, Indiana tonight.
We actually have a day off here today.
Oh,
We're here in South Bend, and then we do Cleveland, and then Waterloo, New York, and then we have a day off near New York. So I think we're going to be able to go into the city. Then we have a show in New York, uh, and it's all kind of a blur after that. Except we're doing my hometown, which is St. Louis, Missouri, on October 1st, which I'm excited about because I haven't played in St. Louis with Dorothy yet. And so this wraps up October 8th. So I think we have about like a little over 3 weeks left. So we're about halfway through. And then I'm home for a week. And then we have a fly out show the following weekend in Fort Worth, which should be a pretty fun show because it's with Disturbed and Asking Alexandria and Drowning Pool and Us and New Year's Day. And I think a band called Mothership.
Haven't
Super
heard of them.
cool, like super cool, kind of like stoner rock band.
Oh, right. Right. You were telling me about Mothership. That's right. I did. I made a
Yeah,
note to, yeah, I wanted to check them out. I was like, that
yeah, they're
sounds
kind of like
familiar,
if
but I can't place any music. It's because you told me about them.
oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, they're kind of like a Corrosion of Conformity or something like that. Kind of just like a real kind of Sabbathy, just sludge.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And I
love.
was telling you, I was a big fan of Monster Magnet for a minute. And
Oh, that too. Oh,
yeah.
that's who I'd love. That's who I'd love to play with. Add that to the list.
Oh, yeah?
That's that's like at the very top of the list. Like right after, uh, if it was at all humanly possible to play with somebody like a Jerry Cantrell or like an Alice in Chains, it'd be Monster Magnet. Just because I have loved that band since I was a little kid, and I'm still just obsessed. I still just go and I'm like, I was literally just watching a video the other night on the guitar player Phil, just talking about his guitar tone, and I'm still just like, so
What,
I
what
love that
about it
band.
was blowing your mind?
Just how good it sounds.
Oh, okay.
Just yeah, just how great the guitar tone sounds, and just I just love the riffs, and I love their songs, and I just love their whole kind of spacey thing, and I don't even know how to describe it, but that's always been like the number two band to me. It's always been like when I was a little kid, when growing up, it was always like Shinedown was like my favorite band, and then but always Monster Magnet, and then when I got into Alice in Chains, that's been the number one for at least since I was like 15, and but Monster Magnet has always been the one and a half.
All right.
Yeah.
Um, okay. So I'll let you go pretty soon. Looking at the time here, I just want to ask one more question, which you're probably going to hate. But 5 years from now, where are you? What are you playing? Who are you playing with? Where is Sam Bam Koltun?
Um, Possibly another day off in South Bend, Indiana. I don't know. um, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm very much a see what happens kind of person. I the Dorothy thing even just kind of came up really kind of out of nowhere, and it's been really really fun, and I very much love this gig, and the Faster Pussycat thing. I went to that just to sub for Ace, and then they ended up wanting me to stay, and Tammy asked me to you know keep playing with them. So uh, everything has just kind of been like, oh, okay, it just happened. So I, I don't know. I'm really hard at thinking in the future because I'm very much just kind of focused on living in the present. So
Yeah, you've always struck me as a kind of a very in the moment kind of person, which is why I thought you'd hate the question. So, but I wanted to ask anyway.
oh no, I mean, I don't hate it. I wish I could answer it better, but I don't really I don't really know. I don't want to say anything because I don't want to jinx anything. I don't know because it could. So uh, I'm just kind of like, see what happens. But hopefully in 5 years, everything is still going well, and maybe I won't break any more fingers. I don't know. Knock on wood. No, there's no wood in here. Wait, got it.
So if people want to find out where you're playing, is it on your socials? Is it?
Yeah, pretty much. I try to stay on top of posting stuff on social media. So if you do the social media thing, it should be at Sam Bam Koltun on everything. Koltun. I post the most on Instagram. So if you guys want to go to Instagram, that's kind of where I post the most. And then Facebook, at least on my friends page, I'm like basically maxed out, but there's another page that I share all the posts to that's should also be at Sam Bam Koltun. And Twitter, I still don't really know how to use Twitter, but stuff shares there too, so you'd find stuff. And at least for the current Dorothy tour, if you go to DorothyOnFire.com, that'll have all the information.
I thought it would be.
Dates.
Sorry, I thought it would be It's Dorothy, sucker. It's DorothyOnFire.com.
Dorothy on Fire, and that's Dorothy. I think some people think it's only one O, Dorothy, but it's Dorothy. And so that's DorothyOnFire.com. That'll have all the dates that the remaining for this tour with Dirty Honey and the festivals that we're doing, and headline shows. And FasterPussycat.com. I'm not sure if we're doing anything else for the rest of the year, though. Not totally sure. And Budderside.com if you want to see more.
And for those that don't know, it's BUDDERSIDE. Not, there's no T's. It's Budder, not butter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you can find all that stuff if you go to my social media or just, anywhere.
All right. Well, Sam Bam Koltun, thank you so much for joining me on the show. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Remember, to hear the music discussed in this interview, stream the on-demand Hard, Heavy, and Hair show at pariahrocks.com.
That's PARIAHROCKS.com.
Also hit pariahrocks.com to stream or listen on a radio station near you. The regular 2-hour Hard, Heavy, and Hair show with me, Pariah Burke. Hard, Heavy, and Hair is your weekly dose of hard rock, heavy metal, and hair bands from the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 20-teens, and today, including the latest new releases, your old favorites, and deep cuts and rare hair, along with rock news and trivia.